Many dream of owning a spacious home, but have you ever truly considered the hidden, ongoing expenses beyond your initial mortgage payment? We're about to explore the harsh realities of homeownership through Brian's experience, a situation far too common for many new buyers. Brian recently acquired a 3,200 square foot house in a new development near Atlanta, boasting 4 bedrooms, multiple bathrooms, and high ceilings. This impressive property came with a $475,000 price tag and a $2,800 monthly mortgage, which he mistakenly believed was his main cost. His first summer brought a shocking $430 electricity bill, a direct consequence of constantly cooling such a large space in Georgia's intense heat. Winter offered no relief, as his gas bill climbed to an equally substantial $370, highlighting the relentless energy demands of the home. Beyond utilities, Brian faces an annual property tax bill of $6,200, which adds another $517 to his monthly financial burden. Home insurance further increased his outgoings, costing $2,400 per year, or an additional $200 debited from his account each month. Then there's the $220 monthly homeowners association fee, covering lawn care and amenities he seldom, if ever, utilizes. His water and trash services averaged $140 each month, driven by the 4 bathrooms and the extensive lawn needing irrigation. When all these figures are combined, mortgage, utilities, taxes, insurance, HOA, water, and trash, Brian's total monthly housing expenditure hit a staggering $4,477. Annually, simply maintaining the house costs him $53,724. Brian's gross income is $92,000, but after taxes, his take-home pay is only $62,000. Shockingly, his home consumes 87% of his disposable income, leaving him with very little before even buying essentials like food or gas. He's left with a mere $1,300 each month for all other life expenses, effectively preventing any savings, investments, or vacations. Brian has fallen into the classic house poor trap. He may own a beautiful property, but in reality, the house now owns his entire financial life. If you, like Brian, feel trapped by a home that once seemed like a dream, understanding this phenomenon is crucial. What we're about to explore isn't a critique of homeownership itself, but rather how the sheer size of your residence can restrict your financial liberty. This phenomenon, often termed the McMansion Trap, turns large, often cheaply constructed suburban homes into mechanisms for wealth extraction. It's a key reason why many who appear prosperous on paper find themselves living paycheck to paycheck, unaware until they're fully committed. The core misconception keeping many in this cycle is the idea that bigger equals better, equating extensive square footage with success or status. Many mistakenly assume the mortgage payment is the sole significant cost, viewing all other expenses as just typical homeownership overhead. This narrative is often perpetuated by real estate agents and mortgage brokers who approve buyers for the maximum possible loan, leading to financially devastating outcomes. Consider Brian, who was approved for a $500,000 mortgage based on his income, with the lender assuring him of its affordability. However, the lender's assessment was flawed, focusing solely on the mortgage payment and completely overlooking the significantly higher operational costs of a large home. A 2023 report from the U.S. Energy Information Administration reveals that homes over 3,000 square feet incur 70% higher utility costs annually than those half their size. For Brian, this translates to over $7,000 annually just for utilities, compared to roughly $4,200 for a more moderately sized 1,600 square foot property. This substantial $2,800 yearly difference directly impacts Brian's finances, money he wouldn't be spending if he hadn't purchased an unnecessarily large house. Beyond utilities, larger residences also bring elevated property taxes due to higher assessments and increased insurance premiums mirroring higher replacement values. They also demand more furniture to avoid looking barren and considerably more maintenance, from roof repairs to HVAC servicing and extensive painting. A 2022 analysis showed annual maintenance for homes over 3,000 square foot averages 4% of value, or $19,000 for Brian's home, far exceeding his meager $3,000 budget. The severe underbudgeting for maintenance means vital repairs will inevitably be neglected, creating a ticking time bomb for his property. Essential components like the roof and HVAC systems are bound to fail, leaving him without the necessary funds for crucial fixes. This grim reality underscores the brutal financial equation of house size versus genuine financial freedom, a calculation many prospective buyers simply skip. Brian's total yearly expenditure for his current expansive home, covering mortgage, utilities, taxes, and basic services, stands at a staggering $53,724. Crucially, this figure doesn't even account for the additional expenses of maintenance, new furnishings, or ongoing landscaping requirements. Had Brian chosen a more modest 1,600 square foot residence, typical for his area at $275,000, his annual financial burden would be drastically different. A smaller mortgage, coupled with reduced utility bills and lower property taxes, would collectively bring his total yearly housing costs down considerably. In this alternative scenario, his annual expenses for a more appropriately sized home would amount to just $30,680. This creates a shocking annual disparity of $23,044 between what he currently spends and what he could be paying. This substantial sum represents money Brian could be saving, investing, or using to genuinely enhance his quality of life. Instead, every dollar is funneled into a house excessively large for his needs, featuring unused rooms and utility bills that cause constant distress. Over a mere 5 years, this difference accumulates to an astounding $115,220, a significant amount of potential wealth he has foregone. Yet, the true financial detriment extends beyond just annual costs. It's about the opportunities and future security this burden actively prevents. At 34, Brian's retirement savings are critically low, with only $6,200 in his 401k, far short of the over $100,000 he should have accumulated by now. He currently saves a mere 2% of his income, a stark contrast to the recommended 15%, because his oversized home consumes nearly everything else. Based on his current minimal savings, Brian is projected to accumulate only about $280,000 in his 401k by age 65, even with a 7% average return. He faces the grim prospect of working indefinitely, or until health issues force him to stop, likely leading to a life of poverty. Far from being an asset that builds wealth, this home actively obstructs his financial growth and long-term prosperity. This bleak outlook assumes no unforeseen challenges, such as job loss, medical emergencies, or other significant financial shocks. Should any of these events occur, he would inevitably lose his home, as he possesses no emergency fund to cushion the blow. With every dollar already allocated, Brian is just one job loss away from facing foreclosure on his property. A 2023 bank rate survey revealed 61% of homeowners with large mortgages have under 3 months emergency savings. They are one crisis away from disaster, stuck in homes they can't truly afford to maintain. Most buyers overlook furnishing costs until they move in and realize their new, large house looks incredibly empty. Brian's 3,200 square foot house completely dwarfed his furniture from a 900 square foot apartment, making his belongings vanish in the vast space. His old couch looked tiny in the living room, his small dining table was lost, and the master bedroom's sitting area remained bare. To make the house feel less desolate, he ended up spending an additional $18,000 on new furnishings. With savings depleted, he put $18,000 for furnishings on credit cards, incurring $5,100 in interest over 3 years at a steep 19%. This spending was demanded by the oversized house. A smaller home would have used his old furniture, saving him $23,100 in costs and interest. Despite the financial strain, a psychological trap made the house feel like a significant achievement for Brian. He experienced a surge of pride whenever visitors arrived, and a feeling of success pulling into his expansive driveway. These powerful emotions, however, came at a steep price, costing him an additional $23,000 annually in operating expenses compared to a smaller dwelling. This constant outflow of money was depleting his savings and severely compromising his financial future, making wealth accumulation impossible. Adding to the irony, this grand residence was a McMansion, where developers prioritized sheer square footage over genuine quality. The construction clearly reflected this ethos, emphasizing a large appearance over genuine durability or craftsmanship. Evidence of this cost-cutting was everywhere, from the builder-grade laminate countertops to the particle board cabinets. The cheap vinyl flooring, vinyl siding, and the most basic stainless steel appliances further underscored the lack of premium materials. Consequently, despite its imposing size, the house was fundamentally not designed to withstand the test of time. Within a mere decade, Brian would face immense expenses, needing to replace critical components like the roof and HVAC. These repairs could easily total over $60,000. With his current financial situation, he would have no means to cover these substantial repairs, leaving him with dire choices. He would either incur more debt via a home equity loan or, worse, defer maintenance, letting his investment rapidly become a growing liability. This situation highlights a common misconception. Little connection exists between home size and happiness beyond a reasonable threshold. A 2021 study found larger homes often led to increased stress from maintenance, cleaning, and financial burdens, not greater satisfaction. Brian's own experience mirrored this, regularly using only 3 rooms, his bedroom, kitchen, and a single bathroom. Much of his vast space remained empty. Ultimately, larger houses tend to generate more obligations and financial strain rather than enhancing one's well-being. He had genuinely believed that acquiring more space would significantly improve his daily life, a hope that never materialized. For instance, his elaborate formal dining room has been utilized for its intended purpose only twice in the last 3 years. The designated bonus room remains cluttered with unopened moving boxes, never having served as an actual living area. Meanwhile, the guest bedrooms sit vacant almost year-round, coming alive only for his parents' brief annual visits. In essence, Brian is paying for a sprawling 3,200 square feet, yet only actively uses about a third of that area. The majority of his home is an expensive burden, constantly incurring costs for taxes, insurance, heating, and cooling. Part of the allure of such a large property was the perceived status it conveyed, a common societal trap. Brian felt compelled to buy a McMansion because many of his colleagues and friends were investing in similar grand homes. He was determined not to be the person with the smallest house and felt a strong need to keep up with his social circle. This relentless desire to maintain appearances ultimately came at the steep cost of his own financial future. A 2022 Federal Reserve study revealed that household debt-to-income ratios are highest in areas undergoing significant construction of large single-family homes. In these McMansion communities, people are often buried under debt, constantly attempting to outspend one another, with their homes serving as the primary battleground. In this relentless competition, only the home builders and financial institutions emerge as true victors. While builders amass huge profits and banks collect substantial interest, Brian is left with mounting stress and credit card balances he cannot repay. The substantial sum of money Brian spent could have served as a down payment for an investment property. Alternatively, it might have funded his children's education or provided a financial cushion for a more fulfilling career change. Instead, that capital is now irrevocably gone, consumed by the demands of his oversized residence. His funds were primarily swallowed by escalating utility bills, property taxes, and the ever-present HOA fees. This is for a house that is, by all accounts, twice the size he genuinely needs for his lifestyle. Crucially, this McMansion isn't building equity at a rate that effectively offsets these immense expenditures. Home equity accumulates agonizingly slowly, with the vast majority of early mortgage payments going towards interest rather than principal. After a decade, Brian might only possess about $80,000 in equity, even assuming the house appreciates minimally with inflation. This meager gain stands in stark contrast to the $332,000 in investment growth he forfeited over the same period. He essentially traded genuine financial prosperity for the mere illusion of wealth, a successful exterior masking an empty reality. Escaping this costly trap necessitates a painful admission of error and a willingness to embrace downsizing. This decision, though financially sound, often comes with a significant and deeply brutal emotional cost. If you find yourself in Brian's situation or are contemplating a McMansion purchase, first meticulously calculate the full cost of ownership. Beyond the mortgage, this includes utilities, property taxes, insurance, HOA fees, and expected maintenance and furnishing expenses. If this total exceeds 30% of your gross income, you simply cannot afford the house, regardless of what any lender might tell you. Disregard external opinions about your home. They won't cover your utility bills or secure your retirement. Your personal financial stability is paramount, holding far more weight than anyone else's judgment. When searching for a house, prioritize the cost per square foot and total operating expenses over sheer size alone. A well-constructed, modest home is often more economical to maintain and run than a sprawling, cheaply built McMansion. This smart choice allows you to truly live, with funds for experiences, instead of merely existing to pay for your dwelling. From an outsider's perspective, Brian appears to be living an ideal life in his grand, impressive residence. However, the hidden truth behind this seemingly perfect exterior reveals a much harsher and difficult reality. Brian is ensnared by a house that demands $53,000 annually just for its upkeep, leaving him no savings or retirement. He lacks any financial safety net, constantly one emergency away from complete ruin. His house is an anchor, not an asset. He toils tirelessly for a property that offers little more than a fleeting sense of success during rare social calls. The McMansion Trap highlights whether your specific home, due to its excessive size and cost, actively hinders your wealth building. Brian could escape by downsizing, selling his home, and immediately freeing up $23,000 in annual cash flow. This would accumulate to $115,000 in savings and investments over 5 years, but he views selling as admitting defeat. He mistakenly believes staying is perseverance, when in fact, it's a gradual financial self-destruction, a costly trap. Downsizing isn't failure. It's the only path to true freedom when your home is drowning you. If this resonates, share your insights in the comments.